welcome to Podcast Fandom Premium. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Donald.
And we are back to discuss a brand new series, new to the podcast, and still relatively new to everyone else, even though it's been out for, I think it's actually done now, right? The first season?
It just finished.
Silo, which is available on Apple TV Plus. Or is it just Apple TV? It's Apple TV Plus, right? Yeah. It is an original series adapted from a novel, or a series of novels, I believe, called Wool. And I was wrong. We were watching the first episode the other day. It was my first time, your second time. Donnie has seen several of the episodes of this season. He hasn't finished it. I've seen none. I've seen none other than the episode 1 that we're going to talk about. But we were watching it, and there's a scene where the wife, I forget her name right now, I'll pull it up in a second, but Rashida Jones' character, and she talks about how when she goes out, she's going to take out her wool and clean the screen to indicate something, right? We'll talk about later. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Wool, that's the name of like one of the books. It's either the sequel or the prequel. And I was such an idiot. And I'm like, no. The original series is called Wool, or at least the first book. And the show is called Silo. Yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So the books are called, or at least that first one, it's called Wool by Hugh Howey. And there was a time, I could look it up, but I'm super, super lazy. But there was a time when being an independently published author on Amazon was so not just easy, and it still is. And I should say easy to do, like to figure out how to do it successfully. That's a whole other story. But it was not just, easy to do, but like it was everyone practically was doing it. And one of the things that made it so enticing was stories like Hugh Howey and, oh my God, Amanda Hocking, is that her last name? But I think she was the first independently published author through Amazon to earn $1 million in a series of books. And the crazy thing at the time was, I read them because the one of the draws, these books were never really expensive to download. And I read them, and it was like clearly in need of like editing and polishing, but the stories, you could tell like she had a great imagination, and the story, you just wanted to know what happened next. So you kind of overlooked that stuff. So it was easy to see why a lot of people read the books, but I could see where people were like, you made $1 million and you didn't even, bother to blah, 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 blah. Hugh Howey was one of those cases where this book series, Wool, just kind of blew up. That it was, it was good, first of all. But, a lot of people bought it, and he became, I think, traditionally represented, obviously, after being independently published. And there was a time when we were friends on Facebook, because I was like friends with a lot of this circle of kind of independently published authors, him and Justin Cronin, although Justin Cronin I don't think was independently published, but for some reason we became Facebook friends for a minute. And then as I just became so problematic on Facebook for yelling at white folks and had to come up with different burners, I just kind of migrated from account to account and kept my kind of friends list small. So I have no idea who I'm still friends with, like on my original Facebook account. But anyway, I read the book. I don't remember, it so long ago. I have to say this is like, 2012? It feels like...
Yeah.
It feels like longer than that in terms of like when you say 2012, that's only 11 years, right?
Right.
But it feels like it feels like it was so long ago. It should be longer than 11 years. Like it just feels longer than that. But anyway, See, I don't remember like a lot. So that watching this was very enjoyable, let me just say. And mainly because it's good, but it was just a bonus that I did not remember stuff from the book. So watching it, it was just like I just like, okay. Like I didn't see things coming. So it was great. And I don't know if because I don't remember the book, I can't even say what changes were made really. Like I don't even remember whose point of view the story is told from. For some reason I thought it was told from a woman's point of view, but like the show really seems centered around the marshal or the sheriff or whatever. So anyway, yeah, how many episodes have you seen?
I believe 7 or 8.
Oh, so you're almost done.
Yeah, I stopped before definitely the last 2.
Okay. And so you can't say much in terms of um like future stuff.
Right. But I'll give my thoughts on, because I watched it with you, and
Mm-hmm.
I can give my thoughts at like my first reactions.
Okay. So the series, we should say, I should point out, hold on, I'm going to go to the first episode cast list just so it's not all over the place. Okay. So, if as things change, and I know there are like actors who are in this series who we hadn't met yet, and at least not in this first episode. And I just want to say, like, I feel like I sound funny, and Donnie says it sounds fine, and
You sound fine.
like if this podcast sounds like shit, I'm gonna be so mad. But anyway, um, like so for instance, I know Common is in it, but he wasn't in this episode, not that I remember. So as those things occur, as characters appear, we'll talk about it. So, but for right now, from at least episode 1, Rashida Jones plays Allison. David Oyelowo. Oh my God, Oyelowo. Oyelowo. I want to know how to say this right. I can't tell if it's like a oi sound. Oyelowo. Oyelowo. I kind of like that, but that's probably wrong. But I'm trying my best. He plays Sheriff Holston. Common. Well, he's on this episode. Did we see Tim Robbins?
Yes.
Yes, we did. That's right.
He's Allison's boss.
Right. Let's see. Will Patton. Good to see him. Deputy Barnes. All right, that's enough for now. Anyway, so the premise is there are people who, and this clearly, it's presuming like this takes place on Earth, right? And this is sometime in the future. And something cataclysmic has happened to the world to the point where these people, the hell?
Was it your briefing thing?
Oh, is that what that was? If everything sounds so weird, you guys. Like, I feel like this podcast is going to sound like I'm in a tunnel.
You're fine.
Oh my God. That sounded like it came from 5 blocks away, but also right next to me at the same time. It was so weird. But anyway, so people have been driven to living inside this giant silo, which one thing that I will admit, when I first started watching this episode, I was not paying as much attention as I should have been, because I remember it got to one point and they mentioned like it took us a full day to get here. And I was like, oh yeah, that's something that was really stressed in the books. And I felt like if the show mentioned it or stressed it, it went right over my head. But I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This silo is like stories deep and high. And that's what humanity has to live in. And so to travel from certain levels to other levels could take as long as a day.
And the only way they do it is by those fucking spiral stairs.
Yeah.
Their legs must be
amazing.
Yeah.
There are no like if I have this correct, there are no like records of before.
Yeah,
Right.
everything's been destroyed, and it's what they call relics.
Right.
And relics are illegal. So,
Right.
even if somebody finds something or something, the
You're
government,
not supposed
whatever,
to,
is
right.
supposed to you're supposed to turn that shit in. Like you're not.
Right.
It's illegal to have it. You can get sent out to clean if you're caught with it. And cleaning is their
Well, and they're telling people they live in the silo, right? Because this has
like
been going on for
hundreds of years.
hundreds of years, right? And they're telling people that they live in the silo because the outside world is contaminated and
Correct.
it's not safe for them to go outside.
Right.
Um, and being sent out to clean is they have like these windows and cameras that are set up where they can see outside, and it looks barren and terrible. Um, and when someone is punished, or if someone says, or this is a form of punishment, as I say, it's not
It
the
is a
only
form of
punishment.
punishment, but if
It's a
somebody
form of
says
punishment,
right, but if
but
somebody says they want to go outside, then they cannot stop them from going outside.
right. No, but what I was saying was I had to clarify because I was saying it was like it was the only punishment. You can get like punished for things
Right, they have
like
jail
slow
cells.
things, right? But this is a form of like serious punishment. And then, as you just said, if you say you want to go outside, and so now he is the sheriff, or yeah, the sheriff
Yes.
Becker, um, and that's the one played by David. Um, he's the sheriff of just like a certain area, right?
No, he's the sheriff of the
Oh,
whole silo, but he has deputies in different areas of the silo.
okay. Okay. Jesus Christ. You think it
So
would
like there's deputies on the very bottom level and stuff like that that they don't see very often.
you would think okay. Um and his wife Allison, what does she work in again? She's some sort of like office worker and like something in some sort of tech, because all of their tech is very like Commodore 64
Right, right.
computers. And she gets there's like a service call on the day, the name of the episode, by the way, this first season 1, episode 1 is called Freedom Day. Um and it's a holiday that um commemorates this supposed that there's like a rebel uprising
Yes.
where a group of rebels tried to um open the silo and also destroy, I think, or the story is that they tried to destroy some information, I think. And so they celebrate the day that this uprising was kind of squashed, and that's this day. And on Freedom Day, because it's a holiday and there aren't a lot of people working in the office, when there's some sort of like tech support call put in, um, it's Allison, the sheriff's wife, that
Hmm.
is called to go take care of it. And as it turns out, it's a guy who has somehow, I forget how he said he got a hold of it, but it's an old hard drive.
Yes.
And it's not something they're supposed to have,
Right.
but they want to be able to see if they can get the information off of it. Now, she's already a little like open to this because in this society, couples have to get permission to have children.
Yes.
It's a form of like population control, right?
Right.
And when you get approved, if you get approved, Kaylee, watch your dog, please. If you get approved, they give you, it looks like a year to conceive.
Yes.
And so when the series begins, this is David and Allison's third attempt.
Yeah,
And
third
she's
time being
already,
approved.
he went that way. And she's already, I think she says like 38. So she's like, if we don't conceive this time, I'm not going to do it again. And so there's like it's weird because like everyone knew, like that day, it was a big deal. She was going in to have her birth control implant and removed. And like on the way, her coworkers and people like walking by them were like, "Congratulations!" And I'm like, why does everybody know?
Yeah, I think my assumption is that they only do it like one couple at a time. Like not, oh, these 10 couples are going to have a baby this year. I think it's like one couple at a time they do. Like it's that much of population control. So it's kind of like, oh, who was the lucky one this time? And that was my assumption.
Okay, got it. It's still gross, but and so the whole almost the full year goes by,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not conceiving, and that's when she gets this call. And so she's already feeling a little like what the hell, that not that necessarily there's some sort of conspiracy, but she does meet a woman who I think is like a midwife who
Starts putting a bug in her ear.
yeah, puts a bug in her, and she basically tells her something like, you're not the type of person they want reproducing.
Right.
And you get that in that she is like, she'll ask questions, and she kind of shakes the system a little bit. So much so that I think this is why the hacker that found the hard drive reached out to her to begin with, is because she had done something. She had put something up.
So she did. She wrote an article. I'm guessing, however they read, if it's newspaper. I don't. But she wrote an article.
But it was like, and it was something like on the community like type blog,
right?
Or something.
Basically,
Yeah.
Basically to like a self-repair type of thing or self-help type of thing. Like, hey, if you come across this issue with your tech, you could just do this to fix it rather than calling one of us.
Right. And this is how.
Tim
right.
Robbins did not like that shit. He's like, no, we're not doing that. And
he's like, I took it down. Yes. So I think it's because of that the hacker thought, because he had called for this help and got sent everybody but her. And then he said he specifically tried again on Freedom Day, hoping that maybe other people would be, out, whatever. He took a gamble that he.
And they said when he called in for the help, I can't remember how it was worded, but he's called in before, so I don't know if he was feeling people out.
Well, he said they sent everybody but her, like, because you can't request who they sent.
Right. So now so basically he's feeling people out to see who he could trust to help him. Right.
But I mean, there's a reason he wanted her, I think. Like, that's what he said. Like, it was they kept sending everyone but her. So that means that he wanted her to begin with. And I think it's because of what she wrote.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going through the hard drive and going through the information that's on it once they finally have access to it. And she's like sneaking to meet him, right? Saying she's doing one thing, but she's really going to sit in this guy's
at first
place.
she was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to get in trouble and all this stuff.
Right.
But then it kind of like that curiosity, that curiosity got to her. She's like, yeah, there's something right there that you know of that could have more information. She just had to know what was on it.
So, they have been looking like a full day, and then she just they're like, one last file. Let's look at this, and it's like, it looked like it was like camera, like secure camera footage, like CCTV type footage of outside, right? And the file was something cleaner, like a name.
It was somebody's name, and they're cleaning.
Right.
And it was like their perspective, wasn't it?
I think so. Right. From inside their suit or whatever.
Yes.
Right. That they make them put on. Okay. And it was, they saw birds flying.
Yes. And everything is green. The skies are blue. Because if you're looking out the window in that they see in the cafeteria, it's just everything's dead. Everything is just
it's
black.
Gray and yeah. So she, David comes home to find that she is trying to, she tries to explain to him that they're being lied to. and um how she knows what she knows and why she suspects what she suspects. And when she gets to the part about the pregnancy and them being in control of that, she says that the doctor never took out her birth control implant.
Yep.
And
He's like, how do you know?
She goes, I'm certain he didn't take it out because I just removed it a few minutes ago. And he looks, and sure enough, she's been sitting there bleeding this whole time. She removed it with like a knife, a kitchen knife. It went into her abdomen and removed it herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he has to run and get help, he runs to the doctor who she just accused of medical malpractice.
Yep.
And it's like, y'all ain't got no other system for getting help. He had to run down several stories to the doctor to get her help. But by the time he gets back to their apartment, she's gone. She is out in like the cafeteria telling everybody, y'all been bamboozled, hoodwinked, you've been lied to, led astray.
There's flying things out there.
Oh my God. And she looks crazy, of course, right?
Yeah,
because
she's know the word birds. That she just there's some shit out there in the sky.
And she's like bleeding, so of course she looks crazy. And then she says, they try to talk her down, but she says, I want to go out, which they have established that is like a death sentence, basically. I should say that the series begins with David saying he wants to go out, telling his deputy.
Yep.
He wants to go out. And then this is 3 years before.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So she tells him that Allison tells David, okay, listen, I'm going to go out there and she says it so that only he can hear it. Like she believes and when they have her in a jail cell, she says, because like it's like this big ceremony and you're banished out there. And as like one act of, I guess, help to your fellow man is you have to wipe the lens, right?
So that people in the cafeteria and shit can see, because right now you look at it now, you can barely see outside. They said nobody's been out to clean in a long time.
Right. And then you just walk off into, accept your fate to die out there, this toxic air or whatever. So she says, if I go out there and I am wrong, that it's barren, this is gross as they tell us it is and dangerous, then I will wave at the camera. I'm not going to wipe the screen. I will wave at the camera and say goodbye because I will have made like the biggest mistake of my life. She goes, but if I'm right, I will take out my wool and I will wipe the screen. And then I will go off and walk over that hill and find out what the fuck is going on, and I'll come back for you and all this stuff. So sure enough, she goes out there. And she asked it, well, before that, she was like, why do you think everyone always cleans? Because there have been people who have been sent out who, before they go, they're like, fuck it, I'm not going to clean. You know what I mean? But everybody ends up cleaning in the end. And she theorized that it's because they want you to be able to see what they see. Right. And so sure enough, she goes out there and she starts cleaning it. And he's like, what the fuck? But then she starts to walk away, and it's clear like she's about to pass out, like she's dying. At one point she falls but she gets back up, but then she falls again. And that's where she stays, presumably for like a year.
No, 3. I mean, she's still there.
Well, I mean, because this was, wait. So the story then jumps forward again, because this was 3 years ago. Right. And then it jumps forward like 2 years.
Correct.
Okay. And so David gets so at the time that she kind of Allison had her freak flip out, they had pulled in the midwife that had spoken to her and the hacker that she had went to help.
Right.
to see, like, what if they had anything to do with what, her meltdown or whatever. And so now, 2 years later, after she is sent out, Allison is sent out, the hacker that she met with is killed. He's dead. And
well, he fell off the railing, but there's
right,
they're ruling it a suicide.
They're saying it was a suicide, but there's an engineer on one of the levels. I think it's the level where he worked or where he died.
Yeah,
who is
saying the very bottom.
saying that it was murder.
Yeah.
And so David has to go down there and meet with this engineer. And it's a woman. And at the same time, we're in present day where David has already said he wants to go out. So they're preparing for that to happen. And his deputy, who was played by Will Patton, he's like, what happened to you? You were fine until you met. And it turns out it's Juliet. Yeah, the engineer. So clearly, whatever she tells him about the murder of the hacker, and all this is tied to whatever Allison found out and all that. So like, so clearly when she went out there, she saw something different. Right?
Right.
And she cleaned the mirror to signal that to him.
Right.
But then she I don't want to say died, but at the very least she passed out. So are we to believe that she did die? Or, sorry, this Nico.
I don't know, because what we see is through the screen.
Right. Or somebody manipulating it. So at some point, like, somebody goes out there and gathers her unconscious body, but she's not dead, or I don't know. I can't tell, like, what we're supposed to. And I know you can't say. Do you know what I mean? But
right.
having read the book, like I said, I don't remember. So right now it's like, I don't know. I think what we're supposed to believe is that she was right, that it wasn't the way they said it was out there. But at the same time, they think she's dead, but that she's not dead is what I'm thinking. But anyway, so is there anything else you want to add? We don't yet have feedback for this because it is.
We also met I guess it'd be the mayor, briefly. She was the old lady.
Oh, yes.
That kind of was put together the whole, is in charge of Freedom Day and all that type of stuff. It was funny because we were watching it and I said, yeah, this is the very bottom. You're like, damn, they living good down at the bottom, because they had all kinds of like street food and shit.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was a totally different like world. Like, those people looked like they were like having fun, and it just looked like lively and stuff, whereas upstairs it just looked like church.
Right. They were all like office workers. And
yeah, it was weird.
So. Trying to think anything else. No, I think it's pretty much it. Okay.
So we're going to cover this one episode at a time, which I think may be a bit torturous because I am liking it. But we're going to do one at a time because we have a full schedule right now that is just going to get fuller as some shows are returning. Speaking of which, we are going to be watching and recording this weekend for Foundation. That's a premium show that is also on Apple TV Plus that we covered its first season, I want to say about a year or two ago. And the second season dropped today, I think. Maybe. I don't know. It feels like everybody's talking about it today, so I assumed it was today. So we're adding that to the schedule, and me, John, and Donnie are returning to cover season 2 of Sweet Tooth starting next week. We're picking up our K-drama Taxi Driver this weekend. Kaylee and I are beginning our Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 coverage this weekend, as well as continuing Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And at the time of this recording, you guys should have seen by now or listened to by now our brand new episode covering Secret Invasion. So it's a lot of great stuff coming up. even more that I didn't even remember to mention. So as always, thank you for listening and thank you for subscribing, and we'll talk to you next week.